Okay, guys, I know we're getting down to the wire here, and I apologize for not getting back to you. It was some kind of review earlier than this. This is not going to be like a traditional review. It's going to be more of a, hey, look at this way, um, for you guys to review on your own and to study on your own. But so so far I've knocked the final down to 137 questions. I'm probably going to continue to remove a few more. So between 100 and 120, let's say, questions. All these questions are from the book itself. So if you don't like the question, if you don't like the wording of the question, um, actually a few of them I did reword, because what people do is um, they just, like, the author themselves probably did not create these questions. It was probably someone at the publishing house created the questions. And so what they do is they um, um, just copy and paste. Well, sometimes they copy and paste, and it's so out of context it doesn't even make sense. Um, so I've tried to make better sense out of a few of these questions, but for the most part, they are from the book. Um, I'm just going to kind of go through and so thyroid. Know a little bit about the thyroid. Know a little bit about radioisotope imaging of the thyroid. So hot nodules, cold nodules, that kind of stuff. Um, Obviously, gallbladder is going to be a big one. So wall size, the wall thickness of a gallbladder, what constitutes cholelithiasis, cholecystitis, um, sludge, polyps, um, adenomyomatosis is another good one to be familiar with. Um, uh, Testicles will be in this. So function, function as in where spermatogenesis occurs, what actually makes up the spermatochord, for instance. If it, what can you expect? Where do you typically find um, cysts in there? What fluid collections within the scrotum? Um, Post snip snip. Oh my God, the words just completely. Snip snip. You know what that means. What happens? What can happen to the appearance of the testicles and epididymis post vasectomy? Um, uh, Thyroid. I do ask some questions on thyroid. Kind of easy. Just in general, in most hormone-producing organs, adenomas. Those are the number one thing. The number, if you ever wonder, if you ever just have to punt, uh, adenoma is the answer, because it's like adenomas can be, well, they can be totally benign. Well, they are benign. They're not cancerous, but they can be, or they can, they could just sit there doing absolutely nothing, taking space, or they can really produce a lot of hormones themselves. So you get hyperthyroidism, hyperparathyroidism, same adrenal glands, but here's a little hint. I don't think I'm asking a single question on the adrenal glands. But and that adenoma there would also cause hyperadrenalism. So of course, thyroid, the location. Oh, the muscles. Yeah, so strat muscles. I'm not going to ask about specific strat muscles, but strat muscles. Yeah, what's this big one? sternocleidomastoid muscle. There's a muscle behind it there, the longest Coley muscle. So kind of have an idea about those as well. So that reminds me of lymph nodes. Not a lot of questions on lymph nodes, but we've talked about lymph nodes all the way from here down to the pelvis so far. And you know, what is it called when they are increased in size, and what do they look like when they're fighting either an infection or a cancer, as opposed to what they look like normally. Oh, and breasts as well. But I guess that includes neck to groin. Echogenicities. You know, what is the kidney supposed to look like next to the liver? What is the echogenicity of the different parts of the kidney? One thing I'll tell you, I'm not going to ask you a lot on this test, but it is important in the future when you take registries. Know your echogenicities. And I don't want to say it now because I'll get it confused between the kidney, the liver, and the pancreas, and then the kidney and the spleen. Even the spleen to liver, because on very occasionally, the left lobe of the liver and the spleen will actually overlap just like this. And but anyway, that's not for this test. I'm not going to ask a ton of questions on echogenicity, but just know in the future you have to know that. More gallbladder stuff. Oh, I know everything. Gallbladders are bread and butter, guys. You have to know everything about the gallbladder. Same thing with the common bile ducts or bile ducts in general. So Caroli's disease, choledocholithiasis, and not just Caroli's disease, but the other forms. So, you know, you could have multiple outpouchings of the biliary system. Spleen, I do ask some questions about just the physical properties of the spleen. You have white pulp, red pulp. What generally do they do? What else does the spleen do? Well, it pits, it culls. Know what pitting and culling is. It is a reservoir for blood. Oh, and size of the spleen between normal and splenomegaly. Remember, that's just a length measurement, which is actually stupid, because a spleen can get really thick and still have a normal length, but the overall volume would be increased. So we really should be doing a volume measurement on the spleen, but don't tell the radiologist that. It's just so much easier to take one measurement. Liver, length of the liver, and yeah, let's see, length of the kidney. Kidneys are just kind of like there's no kidneyomegaly issue. There's hepatomegaly, there's splenomegaly, there's no kidneyomegaly. But a kidney can become unusually large, either due to the other kidney is missing, it's maybe been missing since birth, so you have compensatory hypertrophy, or maybe it's kind of a fused double kidney that would make it an exceptionally long kidney, but there's no kidneyomegaly. Pancreas. Okay, no. So obviously your vascular anatomy is going to be more in the other class. but there is, it's hard to describe anatomy and anatomical positions of the solid organs without knowing and understanding and being able to reference that in this test, the vascular. So there is references to the vascular in this test, but really more on like anatomy, like this is my, this little circle here would be the confluence, and you got vessel coming down this way. Well, in this test, I'm not going to ask what that vessel is, but what they can ask is, where is the head in relation to the superior mesenteric vein or confluence or main portal. I just want to say confluence. Just call every single author out there and say, change it to confluence. Stop confusing everyone, including me. But so, how does the uncinate process sit in there? The common bile duct, the gastroduodenal artery, how do they all relate? Where is the stomach in relation to the pancreas in relation to the left lobe liver? It's a little hint: liver, stomach, pancreas. Most of the time, because sometimes that pancreas can be under posterior, it can be, we've seen it superior to the stomach. I've even seen it inferior to the stomach, but for the most part, it's posterior. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm going to erase this one. I'm really trying to avoid questions on pediatrics. I really like this question. Okay, in pediatrics, I'm going to include spine. So know your basic. Where is the conus medullaris supposed to end? If it's at another location, what does that mean? Probably means a tethered cord or something like that. Of course, liver. What are you doing in there? I erased you already. Put a little check mark on that and get rid of that. Ooh, I definitely need to go over this again because I was sure I erased that question. I erased this question too. Uh-oh. Okay, well, a couple of, let me get rid of these right now. Other way here, let me pause this. Okay, yeah, weird. There's a few questions in there that I definitely didn't want to ask. So this is why I'm going to go over this test several times. I want this test to be fair. Cirrhosis, portal hypertension, we're going to shoot that over to the vascular class. But cirrhosis in general, I mean, what does the liver look like when it has cirrhosis? Is it similar to really bad fatty liver? Loss of attenuation of sound, the nodular surface. When it gets really bad, well, of course, there's ascites. Let's see, what else about ascites? Ascites. Where I guess, well, ascites and potential spaces. So now peritoneum, we have, of course, we have visceral peritoneum around the organs, parietal peritoneum around the outside. We have some specific places. You have that you could find ascites. If it's really bad ascites, it's everywhere. And if it's not so bad ascites, it might be located in more specific areas like Morrison's pouch. Where is that, guys? Lesser sac. Where is that? It usually doesn't start in lesser sac unless it is pancreatic in origin. So ascites is more likely to be in the greater sac. Potential spaces in the pelvis as well. Should be studied. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Like I said, there are certain vascular elements that you just cannot, it's very hard to not talk about, which is why I really stress the vascular when we're in lab, because there's so much information in the vascular that tells you about the organ itself. Hint, hint. So cirrhosis, what do you expect? General anatomy, we have, I'm not going to specifically ask about Koino's anatomy. If I did, it wouldn't be ultrasound images. That is really difficult to do when I have a hard time with it. Let's just put it that way. I have to really think about where I am. However, there is a main lobar fissure separating left from right. There is, and what's in the left, well, we have what landmarks are in the left versus landmarks in the right. Back to kidneys, bladder. What's the most common? What's the most common benign, and the most common cancerous and non-benign cancerous tumors of liver, of kidney, of bladder. What about other organs? And kidneys, there's a lot of anatomical variants of kidneys because of the way they migrate sometimes. So you could have two kidneys on one side. You could have, ureters are sometimes, well, you get a double kidney, you have a double collecting system. We have a student, by the way, in your class who has a double collecting system. Let's see, breast. Well, there you go. Another organ with the most common benign, most common benign. Most common cancer. Common cystic structures in the breast as well. Cystic structures. Yeah, so I am going to leave some infant spine. I won't do the brain. In fact, I just erased the brain one. So I guess that's that. As far as chest goes, what is it called when fluid is in that cavity? What's that cavity called? Can't think of anything else. Really, I'm going to kind of keep the chest somewhat simple. Yeah, there's like no pictures, and I might just so you know, I might just add pictures. So if it seems like there's a question that doesn't even refer to a picture, it's because I've added it just to kind of hopefully jog your memory. Or let's see, kidneys. Yeah, well, okay, so what else can go wrong? What we have with kidneys? We have kidneys. We have major tumors. We have cancerous tumors. We have non-cancerous tumors slash lesions. Maybe not so big. Maybe not. A tumor and a lesion are really kind of the same thing, but I use lesion for smaller things and tumors for big, scary things. But that doesn't really matter. So hydronephrosis, stones, thinning of the cortex, either through just renal disease or sinus lipomatosis, that kind of stuff. You have an idea about that. Of course, anatomy is always good to know. When people get pancreatitis, bad pancreatitis, what happens? Not too many questions on the prostate, just a couple. As far as adrenal glands, so we don't really see adrenals unless there's something on them, like an adenoma or pheochromocytoma, and that's what the know a couple of it and know the effects of having a tumor, different tumors on the adrenals. I'm going to pull that one out. Thyroid, different. Let's see, I said I'm not asking a lot on the thyroid, and I'm not, but generally know the major disease states of the thyroid. Sorry, here, let me put this on pause since I'm sorry. So I would say know your anatomy. And obviously macroscopic anatomy, definitely. But and microscopic, as far as a nephron goes, I don't expect like the actual function, the way the nephrons work is extremely complicated. We're skipping that. So basically just very general, but the anatomy of a nephron from the arterial net, the glomerulus to the Bowman's capsule going around and then the convoluted tubules and the loop of Henle and the distal convoluted tubule, and then they all go down. That kind of stuff. Just know the best general physical makeup of that, of the hepatocyte, in the hepatic lobule, how a number of hepatocytes create these hexagonal lobules. Let's see what other, I think we already mentioned spleen anatomy, generally speaking. renal anatomy, splenic anatomy. Oh, pancreatic anatomy. Okay, let's go through this faster. I think we're kind of getting a little bit redundant here. Anatomy of, yeah, you should know generally the stomach, the duodenum. See the first, second, third, fourth portion of the duodenum, and then it goes in, you know, the ileum and ileum goes into the cecum, which is really the very first part of the large intestines, ascending, transverse, descending, colon, which is large intestines. You should generally know that stuff. Did we talk about? Well, it doesn't matter. You should have read it anyway. I removed a number of procedures because I know we didn't get into fine needle aspirations. We might have mentioned fine needle aspirations, but what are the procedures for removal of fluid from the abdomen, for ascites, or remove pleural effusion around the lungs? One of those called just test you. More things to test, of course, I'm testing you. All right, here, let me pause this again since I'm just wasting time. All right, well, so this review is really not a review. It's kind of pointing you in the general direction. I think it was pretty fair. Obviously, I'm not giving away the story here. I am just pointing things out in the store that you might want to consider buying to stretch the analogy. Yeah. So this review is not all encompassing. Don't be like every single other class I've ever had and say, well, you didn't review that. I know. Too bad. No, I don't mean too bad in a bad way. I just mean you should know. I'm gonna create a test here that I think is pretty fair. There's a number of things I still have to change. A few more questions I'm going to remove, but it's actually looking like it's going to be more like 120 questions because I'm still at 133, and most all these questions are pretty good. So I'll try to get it to 120, maybe 125. But hopefully this helps. Sorry, this wasn't a little earlier. I've been doing this. I've also been creating your first final, which is on Monday. That is, of course, the vascular lab. We did start with lab, right? Yes, vascular lab images. So if there's a picture of the mesenteric vessels, you should be able to recognize those. And then as far as what vessels do, or specifically how things go wrong. Well, I will have some pathology in the lab, but the test itself is going to have obviously more pathology questions, or what does the portal system do, type questions. So anyway, I'm going to shut up now and let you guys get back to studying all 4th of July weekend. Bye-bye.